Hi, everybody. We're on a Halloween pause. Marlene's attempting to answer the door. I think there's a knock on our door. So we're doing it from the basement. So I hope everybody's having a good Halloween evening. And we'll try to answer some questions that came in. This one was from Marie Jose here in Ottawa. Why do we feel more tired after meditation and sometimes more energized? Interesting question. I think that is probably experienced by many people out there. And one of the reasons why the first part, we feel sometimes tired after meditation, is that sometimes we get stretched a little bit in meditation in areas that are a little bit more difficult for us on a personality level to have a stretch. As you're well aware of, that internal structure of ours is always there, and there's kind of a floating personality construct that it's always there as well. And anything that affects that directly to kind of help us to see how we actually function causes us a little bit of, let's say, tiredness. In other words, the stretch itself and the reflex in it is like an elastic band. You stretch a little bit in the place where you really don't want to be stretched, because you want to maintain a personality exactly the way it has been constructed. It's hard for us to understand that that is even a possibility in most cases, because we're not really aware of the fact that this is going on. And what basically happens under that stress and the pull back to get back into how you were before, when that occurs, it causes a kind of tiredness to occur. It's like a little bit of pressure. In the second part, sometimes more energized, there are aspects of us that we have no problem having stretches go on, and there's a little bit more intensity flowing in, and that makes us a little bit more energized, because it is energy that does come in, and it lifts us a little bit internally, and that includes the internal workings of the personality. It lifts us up a little bit because we're not under any kind of a stretch. But these things actually work together eventually, and both of them are, as you become, let's say, more aware of and less nervous about shifting your internal workings or your personality in places where you believe they shouldn't be stretched, I suppose you could say, then all of a sudden you realize that and begin to understand that what has happened is not so much that energy comes in and elevates you and then comes in and a different energy comes in. It could be a different energy, though, comes in and stretches you too much. Really what's happening is, under a certain conditions, your whole system is in a movement rather than in a maintenance. In other words, movement in relationship to how you can engage with the world, a little bit softer when it's the same songs are not playing exactly the same as they were before, as your personality style is indicating. And then you can really begin to understand the vulnerability that all of us as individuals, as we grow, are a part of. Um, I think that that is a very valid question, and it's one that might be very important to put some thought on. I know we're always looking to be elevated and valued by ourselves, and that I think I'll touch on another question. But in the meditation reference, I think we could leave that question there and the answer there as well. And when we go into meditation, she asks, with the intent of helping or asking for help for others, for some individuals, and we cannot hold ourselves in meditation, are the individuals helped regardless? It's a two-way street here. It's a dilemma. When you're asking for help for others, you're doing it from a level of sincerity, emotionally wanting to be of help, to be of service as a personality ingot, form, kind of reified, if I could use those particular terms. And then we try to move and hold that. And we already know that it's very difficult to hold our position in almost anything unless it's stimulated by emotion somehow. Anger, for example. And then you can't stop yourself. You're expressing the vulnerability that you have when you're frustrated or angry. But in this case, when you're meditating, there is an intensity that you have as a personality, an intensity of frequency that you nurture and hope that it remains relatively the same. That sincerity that you have is a kind of sense of value. When you're really trying to be helpful, you continue to have that there. Often, there's a kind of letting go that is, in my opinion, more important. Look, you have the ability as a personality to do what almost anything you want. And you're used to attempting to do it that way. In other words, you're engaging, putting forward, pushing forward, and this kind of thing. You don't know how to let go. Because in a kind of a way, if you let go completely, it means there's nothing there. So, in a kind of a way, the personality is attached to holding a position. And that is a purposeful position. No matter what it is, doesn't matter. Until that letting go can be accentuated a little bit. Not by the personality telling you that you're letting go. Because that's what is naturally guarded by a personality. Personality wants the approval of itself, of course, as it sees the world, and it wants to put forward to itself that it can let go or either let go and let a higher state engage with that energy, that flow towards helping another. If you had compassion, you might know that there's two things involved. Number one, you can train yourself to send energy the way you think that person might need, and this includes healing. And often there are elements of this healing style, many healing styles, that emphasis is placed on the individual who does the healing. That kind of healing is related to the personality being really able, and it did something really exceptional. This comes out of the background of Christianity, actually, to tell you the truth. Because in the healing mission of Jesus, it was considered that he could definitely heal. We don't understand that too well. He was linked up with a higher state, letting go of his personality and letting the higher state engage with him through him as a tool for the purpose of healing. We can't let go like that yet. As a matter of fact, we emphasize not letting go because there is the capability of cultivating force or energy, we would call it. Certainly not love at that point, more like will and purposefulness, and eventually build our intensity to the point where we are owners of that force. From our point of view, of course, it really helps the personality to think they're extra special. And then, they can send that force. That force is, if you are doing that way, honestly, you will want reassurance that that is helpful, or you won't care about it. You just know you'll make it up because you can do that. This is helpful. This is not always helpful. It is related to the tones and reference points of the individual personality that is engaging in a manner that elevates itself. It's a very strong egotistic form. I don't like that too much. Let me call it materialistic. It is cultivating energy at this level for the purpose of making you feel important because you can do it. Here's the problem with this. Is it possible to do that? Yes, it is. Every one of us engaging with it, whoever will listen to this, will want to have their life functioning in the way that they believe it needs to do so. This is where we are. And in the next question, that is where we are. And that's where we fundamentally want to be, because we want to be willful and capable and want to be recognized as something really important. It's in everybody. Whoever, if you think that's extra special on your part, it's not. It's in everybody. Overcoming that is learning how to recognize that that is what you do. It is not considered negative on these planes. It is considered something that makes you more valuable. But here's the difference. If you know you can do that and don't, that begins to allow you to enter into a different level of engagement with energy that is so subtle, that is revered by a whole bunch of folks, all kinds of different religious backgrounds, philosophical backgrounds, tales of engagement with higher states, gods, depending on your belief system. It's one of the most misunderstood forms of engagement with spirituality. Sorry, it's just true. And it's a dilemma that we all face. And we face it together. And we battle against that facing individually. And we have alignments with all others who are battling against it too. You see, it's in alignment with ownership of a house, ownership of a car, ownership of a rake for leaves, ownership of a broom, ownership of a table, ownership of books, ownership of studying, reading, engaging, becoming this, becoming that. All of these things fit in our world. Ownership of being right versus wrong. This is a biggie. Did you know that? Oh yeah, I knew all about that. Nonsense. But the nonsense that plays in that environment is the kind of thing that we have to go through to begin to understand something that's different. The acquisition or the engagement with something that you become used to and begin not to bother with it is a relationship with something that you previously were interested in and did bother with it. To let go of that particular interest happens automatically in our world, and then our interest moves to something else, moves to being this, moves to being that. It happens in every field of life, no matter what the field is. Eventually, you may have been good at one thing and no longer do you desire to even do that thing. But also, maybe you have a deep down engagement with missing a sense of worth. So you elevate your worth, or elevate the style of your personality, whatever it may be. It touches everybody. In small things and bigger things, in other things. All I'm saying is, if you can begin to see it, and do not disrespect yourself for doing that, but do not necessarily agree with the continuation of doing it, then you can begin to learn how to pull back, and you can learn how to watch energy operating through you, not from your perspective and engagement with what you have done, therefore you're extra special. Because that eventually will be counterproductive to becoming truly more able as a being of consciousness. Because you won't be able to move into that different level, but you'll still be very valuable from your perspective in this level, the material level. It's a no-brainer. We go through what we go through because that's where we are. The dilemma is what it does to others. And in that, remember, the transmission of energy is different from you personally attempting to do it yourself and having an energy flow operate through you. It is slowly, it makes sense so slowly, but it is reminiscent of understanding and being able to recognize something that is deeply special in a relationship with what often people are calling spiritual higher states, Holy Spirit. There is an energy inside of us, always, and we live it. We live with it. Without that, you wouldn't be able to function. Not on these planes, anyway. But the relationship that you have with that energy is part of a unity that enables you to function on planes such as this for purposes that seem to be reasonably okay on these planes relative to how others as a cluster engage as a species and affect the species overall. Therefore, those in the species act as they do here on these planes. It's a very interesting concept that comes out of this. I remember talking about this a while ago, that if you have an interest in, since many of folks in the West are focused on Christianity, not all, but many. Others can be focused on others who believe that their focus should be in alignment with a different belief than Christianity. But let's take Christianity for a second. So, if you really believe or think you can align with an energy form that is still in the species, called the frame of Jesus's mission statement, that means energy flow oscillating. Because it oscillated in this species, it's still in the species. If you can relate to that by calming down your personality's need to be important because it can relate to that, then what you'll notice is that out of any context whatsoever, when you have nothing in your mind about the importance of you, in a moment, it can happen, in a moment, you may be able to perceive, and you think of that frequency almost like you have a kind of an ache to be right there in that frequency. That frequency can be noticeable by you, in you, at least to the degree that you can move away from your value, because you're not cultivating a value then at that instant. You're cultivating a space, a meeting place where you can engage with and perceive a subtle, soft engagement. Now, here's the problem. I talk about this, and people can listen to me saying that, and then suddenly they can say, I now can engage with that. Well, it is part of the human condition to do that. Doesn't mean it's true. It means it's part of the human condition. And we have an imaginative engagement with that condition. And we are, without a doubt, most fascinating. A most fascinating species, if you want to look at it like that. Where we can actually, in a kind of a way, create a sense relative to the space that relates to our emotions and mind and physical body, and our version of how things are. We have to be a little belief in there under those conditions. And suddenly we can notice those things. But that's still a personality creation. What I'm talking about is an actual occurrence that if I describe it, others will have it immediately. Is that true? You can, if you're willing, allow yourself to perceive that within yourself. If you're willing. And if you do notice that within yourself, that business of kind of make-believe, it will be a way, if you do not beat yourself up for that, and you understand that that is feasible under our conditions, our way of engaging, our models of how we think things should be. You can be open enough in a second or two to have something occur inside, which is not negative or elevating at all, but will be soft and comforting and loving to a tremendous degree. And in that moment, you will not have created it. And in that moment, only that moment, you will not in any way wish to talk about that. That's the difference. Unless you're teaching me, of course, and then that's a problem. The dilemma in that moment will be that when the moment is finished, you will be in your personality envelope as constructed through the necessity of a form that can engage with these planes relative to how you have been brought up, no matter what that is. No matter how you clean that up, that will still be there. You don't ever have to worry about that going anywhere. But it may not be there in the way you had it before. It will have changed. In that one moment, it will have changed. So letting go in that question is very difficult for us. It is one of the most difficult things to do, but not difficult in a constructed belief that the personality can come up with. The difference between a constructed belief and an actual occurrence is huge. The actual occurrence is so soft and subtle. It would be considered, unless you are affected by that moment, as if that can't be it. But if you're affected by it, you cannot engage with how you were constructed you constructed you. You cannot engage with that. In that moment, it's a watchful, perceiving moment. As you can see, this is a little bit difficult to explain, but nonetheless, I'm doing the best I can with it. Thank you, Marie. This is a lovely question, and I think most valuable. Dilemma is, if we're really sincere, we try to be helpful, and we ask for help for folks who are having difficulties. You have to remember that we are on this plane, and this plane is not that simple, complicated, and very materialistic plane. And our bodies they wear out. And our emotions have great difficulty under stress. And our minds in that emotional and mental construct are affected by those tremendous stresses in life. So I wish every one of us who are ever under these kinds of stresses, all the help we can ever get to continue on and continue to grow. Here's a question by Joël Brazeau from British Columbia. He says, it seems that growth from a universal perspective has an agenda that is of a different order than the personal growth perspective. How do the two reconcile? It almost seems like universal growth happens in spite of the person. Well, I'll take that in two parts. I know there's another little bit coming, but let's do this part first. It seems that the growth from a universal perspective has an agenda that is a different order than the personal growth perspective. They work together automatically. Let's look at it from one perspective. Of course, you're out there doing the thinking too, but here we go. When you look at things from a perspective, you look at things from the perspective of however you have learned how to look at things. Once again, this is the personality construct. Things have to begin to make sense to us, no matter what anybody says, myself included. It has to make sense to you. And you can only make sense of something through you. And there is tremendous buffer zones involved with this. No one likes to be considered not right there, and they like the idea of being right, more right than other people and all the rest of this stuff. This is the nature of what happens here. It doesn't make it true, it just is the nature of what happens here. It's hard to allow that to be real in us. And as we were saying before in Marie's question, when you're looking at things of this nature, you begin to realize that fundamentally, we do not have very much of an understanding of what those higher states are. And to start with, there are many levels of those states. Some groupings, like Rosicrucians and Theosophical folk and others, other small organizations or big organizations, talk about initiations, meaning, in some cases, they are brought into a grouping of people by going through a ceremony. And they engage with that ceremony, and they fundamentally begin to understand what the organization is involved with. Often these organizations are very much focused on caring for others, caring for the growth of others, no matter what that would be, looking at it from a positive point of view. Others think, well, if you're not a piece of my organization, everybody else is wrong, and you're the organization that's there. Understanding a little bit about how you operate, whether it's obvious to you or not obvious to you, helps you to become a little bit more honest with yourself. It seems to me that higher states engage with a person who's attempting to be honest with themselves, and we don't understand why. Sometimes it's really constructive, sometimes it appears that it's not how we think things should be. But here's an interesting thing. I'm going to put this one to you. Hopefully it might make a decent question. What do you think of this? We have currently 8 billion people plus, heading into 9 billion really quickly on this planet. Okay, so far. We have various styles of personality, from the coarsest, aggressive personality types to the farthest, weakest, submissive kind of types, if you look at from coarse to submissive, because this is how people normally think. And we have all kinds of stuff in the middle. So we have different levels of personality style. In the animal kingdom, the coarser believe that they have full power over all others. I'm sorry, but even spirituality has some of that in it. That's true, but everything else has it in it too. People have a hard time agreeing with each other. And I'm going to use that agreeing with each other as an important piece. You see, agreement doesn't make anything right. It doesn't make anything wrong. But in our society, we have certain ways of engaging that we all generally, in a modified way, tend to say, okay, if you live like this, this is reasonable, and everyone can reasonably get along with each other. And there's a big diversity, like lots of flex there, until you decide that your way of living is the only way to live. Then there's no flexibility, no understanding, no willingness to go beyond that. This is understandable. In 9 billion people, we have a number of people who believe that way. The number, I'm afraid, is quite large. If you take a look at how things should be, in groupings that congeal towards each other because they're in alignment with, and they hope that this is true. And this has always been the way it is, and it still is the way it is. That this kind of thinking makes us feel comfortable and sometimes wondrous, generally speaking. often respectful and perturbed about others not agreeing with us. Flexibility is one of our very great strengths under certain conditions. Under other conditions, oh yeah, sure. I like ice cream from time to time. Any kind is fine. I can't eat chocolate. Everybody knows that. It's not too bad. Blah, 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 blah. Other topics might be a little bit more difficult to discern exactly how things should be. Acceptability, kindness, love thy neighbor as thyself. Wow, that's scary. If you love your neighbor as you love you, then you will not agree with your neighbor. Think about that. But if you truly love your neighbor and know how you love you and not necessarily agree with it all the time, then your neighbor's got a chance of being loved by you, because you're inquiring about the style and engagement that you use in respect to you, and maybe not agreeing totally all the time, although it's hard for us in this level of engagement. And maybe you'll begin to understand that your neighbor is attempting to love in the way they love. You just don't happen to think it's the right way. We have got a lot of that. These are levels of function. Let's talk about, just for a second, about higher states. Often people talk about avatars and saints. If you meet a saint, I'm not sure if I haven't met a few, but that would relate to how I perceive those beings, males and females. Some people don't. No females, not allowed. Some people say, oh, only males. No. Other people might say something else. You see, we don't have an awareness well enough yet to understand what that really means. A saint in the old tradition meant someone who is engaged with a higher state, God. Oh, one proviso, had to be the same belief. But no, that's not real, because I'm talking about Joel's question here. A being that has energy flowing through them, that meets another being, and they're aware of it, another being who has love flowing through them, they recognize the love of a higher state. It's not so-and-so's better than so-and-so. That doesn't work with them. They are of the same family. Try another one. Kind of relative level, so that they're really truly attempting to be helpful. By not being them transmitting, but an engaging being has a flow of energy operating in them and through them for the purpose of being truly helpful to another, so that one day they will be able to do the same thing and meet that flow in that meeting place within you, where you are not the ownership of that space in that moment. You are perceiving, watching, knowing, understanding, and not engaging with the idea that now you're extra special, because it's not relevant, to be honest. This is our dilemma. So here we go. We have a number of these levels, and with personality styles, sometimes those levels, if you change something at the core of your being, you affect others who cannot do so in the whole of the species. This is maybe the idea is a little bit too big. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we don't want it to be that big because it's just too hard to allow ourselves to recognize where we are helping if we can soften down or engage differently than we could before. Because that flowing energy is aligned with the grouping of beings that is similar to you, no matter what. Similar to me, similar to you. And perhaps that's where they come together. Because energy can come in and flow through them for the purpose of helping individuals under those circumstances who are not even interested, and help them to be helpful to that clan, that kindred, that oscillating form, which is not intellectual but experiential. So it's pretty interesting. Understandably difficult to make sense of. Joel gives an example, and he says, well, it's a bit like the only way he can put it in his mind is all of a sudden we think like a 2-year-old. And that higher state thinks more like a person that was maybe 60 years old. But I hope that's not a direct engagement, because even at 60, even at 100, you can still have ideas that relate so personally that nothing can enter in because you're too well insulated and defended. Well, here's the deal. Even then, that higher state can be helpful. Even then, subtly, in a convenient, wondrous moment, it can help an individual recognize something within them. But here comes the elastic band again. That will make that person feel very vulnerable. But it's already there. It's already been noticed consciously. So it's already there. And that person will reflex back into using energy the way they did, use their body or their emotions or their mind for the purpose of elevating the importance of that particular form. This is a norm in our whole construct. And this has been going on since we first were able to recognize that we could stand up and walk around, if indeed that was the way things occurred in our early development, our origins. So that's an awful lot of words. And I really hope something of some import come out of that. Remember, you grow through you, as all of us grow through us. Please, gentle, balanced, and appropriate is a thought that might be really helpful in the kindling of a willingness to pull back a little bit. And even though it sounds abstract, recognize that even that pulling back and trying to understand from a different perspective our own engagement with life as well as others might be truly helpful. Well, on this Valentine's, wow, that's February. On this wonderful dress up night, Halloween, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to close off and we're going to meditate. I'll try to get Marlene to give us some music. She's guarding the door upstairs, as you are probably doing some of that yourselves. And please take care of yourselves, everybody. And our best to Kareem, who has had some difficulties, and I would truly hope that prayers for him and his engagement with life that's current. Wish him well. Take care. I'll come back and bring you out of the meditation as well.
Ye Namo Namaha. Mamba Lalita Devi. Jagadambe Janani Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Mamba Lalita Devi Tvam Ananda Sagari Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Triambake Devi Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Narayani Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaye Agachanana Padma.
Now we'll just begin to do the bouncing and the grounding. And have a good evening, everybody.